Good morning, afternoon, evening, everybody. And in these times of economic turmoil and human turmoil, I come to you today from my home office, which I'm sure many of you are in a virtual setting as well. Um, Obviously, being in a virtual setting, actually, let me just turn on, I'll share the screen. And here I am, yes. So you can see here I am sitting at my home office, homeschooling our 5 children, running all 9 of our companies from this desk. And I think we're in week 9 of closure here. So here in Las Vegas, a few of the small businesses have been allowed to start opening again, obviously with full social distancing. And I know some of my companies have started thinking about going back in and opening up and stuff. And so there's many things for us to cover off on today. And a lot of what we do is based on really just what I'm doing in my own companies. And having been through now this my 4th economic downturn to run a company through, the restart or the reopening is more important than anything. It's kind of like the restart in a race, I guess, when they have the yellow flag come out and the race has to slow down, and then all of a sudden there's a restart. Well, that's when there's a chance for accidents, crashes, and major problems happening. And same is true for us as business people. The chances of things going wrong here are the biggest challenge. And that's why I wanted to be with you here today and just talk about what it looks like to reopen. It's almost like I want to sort of compare reopening to opening the first time. When you first opened your business, what did it look like? And I think that's a very important aspect for us to keep in mind. So without any further ado, I'll get to the presentation. I hope everyone's feeling well and doing good. But if you do have any questions, please type them in. I should have about 10 minutes for questions at the end of the presentation to be able to take as many as I can. So let's go to the presentation and take a think about it. So let's first of all start with those 3 words: rethink, reinvent, reopen. Basically, there is no old way of doing things. Basically, there is no old going back to. There is just the new. There is just the new way we're doing things. And that is essentially what we have to keep in our mind, that everything has to be reinvented, rethought. Simple things like how you handed things to a consumer before have to be changed. Simple things like how you enter the building, how people enter the building, all these tiny little things that have to be thought through now and done in a way that is conducive to our current psyche of humanity, because obviously humanity has changed the way it thinks about things. And even down to our marketing and our sales, and we'll get to more on that in just a little while. But ultimately, to reopen our business is going to be a tougher job than shutting it down was. So with that in mind, first thing we have to do is plain as day. I don't really need to spend much time on this, other than to say you must obviously study the local rules. Common sense is going to be a big thing here. And, as you know, they say common sense isn't common. But when you're sitting down and planning this stuff, you need to almost walk through the customer experience. You need to walk through your store or walk through the buying process and go through it again as new. See, old buying or old sales processes will be different today. And so we need to think it through. Every process in our business, every step in our business needs to be thought through with 6 foot of distancing and width and width and width. All of these things need to be added into the process of our rethink in every stage of this, and thus common sense. The cleaning side of it, now I'm going to be very blunt here. It's not good enough to have a clean place anymore. You have to be seen to be cleaning all the time. When a customer walks into your business, they need to see evidence of cleanliness, evidence of screens, evidence of barriers between them and someone else. There must be this. Like I was watching, because obviously we're in the restaurant business, I was looking at what some restaurants are doing and putting up barriers between tables, like actually creating perspex and steel and wood barriers to go between tables to create more of a feel of a booth type feeling for people, so that they are feeling that. I know in many of our businesses, we're putting up screens at the front reception so that there is actually a sneeze guard type thing between people and between the stuff. So these are some of the basics. And then the challenging aspect of how do you get PPE equipment? If you're going to require people to wear masks, you're obviously going to have to either buy them or share them with people or do something along those lines, because that's a very must be a part of it. I think the feeling of being safe is going to be a big part of it, that you need to think through every part of the businesses. How do I make people feel safe here? Even simple little things like tape measure on the floor, marked stickers on the floor showing people where 6 feet is. Just simple things like that, directional arrows. These sorts of things are going to be seen, and therefore people will feel like you care. They will feel safer in doing business with you. So consistently look at how you do things like that, those simple things. That's the thing. Now, here's the other part of the plan that you're going to put together. Every week, you're going to need to adjust, change, adapt. It's not going to be the same. It's not going to stay the same. You're going to need to edit and change the plan. Flexibility is not just I guess a fun word in this. Flexibility is the absolute essence of reopening your business here. Just remember, the first time you opened the business, how many times did you have to change things? And it's the same today, because the psyche and the mentality, that fear and worry is going to be around for quite some time. I know that the first people coming out to buy from you are the ones with less fear and worry, but they're still going to have it. So keep that in mind as you go through. Prepare yourself, re-educate yourself, and work with it. Now, that goes to your team as well. Now, what we're thinking with the team is very simple. In all of our companies, we're thinking they are putting themselves into a situation where they're going to be dealing with people. They are putting themselves into a situation where they will, for work, be interacting with either colleagues, workmates, customers, delivery people, suppliers. So we need to give our people the confidence to come back to work. We need to give our people that level of feeling and communication with them. Your methodologies, what you're doing for cleaning of the business, must be communicated. I don't think it's good enough to just do the cleaning. You need to communicate with your staff what is happening. You need to communicate with them what is expected of them and what is not expected of them. And again, in this day and age, obviously, we need to be clear on the fact that we can't require people to come back to work. There's so many things. I'm seeing companies getting sued left, right, and center right now because they're requiring staff to sign off on different documents. And it's like, oh my goodness, you guys are not taking the confidence. You're not giving your people the confidence to come back to work. All you're doing is protecting yourself. You're not protecting them. It is a multiple level of protection that we need to give them that confidence. Now, obviously, allowing people to stay virtual is going to be a thing of the future. Twitter's announcement was it last week. I think that they're going to allow their people to stay virtual forever if they wanted to be. But flexible hours is going to have to be an important aspect of it, especially with people having to homeschool still, if that's going to be the case in your marketplace. And so we're going to need to allow flexible hours. We're going to be looking at, in several of our companies, running shifts so that we only have half staff in the office. So some can come in and work until lunchtime, and then some will come in from lunch and work through till late. And different people will do different things. But having these things thought through, discuss it with your team, have the communication and have these discussions, because if you don't have these discussions, then obviously it's going to these are the things that will come out later. Remember that you've got to rebuild community. Now you're bringing your staff back in, and in some cases, I know in some of our businesses, we've got people not coming back to work. They've decided no longer to do work or do that sort of thing. They've gone to being full-time parents and stuff like that. And it's like, okay, how do we rebuild community now with new people? How do we get the communication happening? And especially with meetings and stuff like, we're still going to run meetings virtually and virally, even though we're all in the same building. Our boardrooms and our meeting rooms, how many people is the maximum number? Bathrooms, what's the maximum number of people in bathrooms? I mean, these are some of the simple things that will give your team the confidence to come back to work, that you've thought this stuff through, and that they feel protected so that they can be productive. productivity is what we're obviously looking for. And this whole virtualness has, first of all, reduced productivity and then brought it higher again. And the same will happen as we come back to work. It'll reduce productivity and then bring it higher again. Obviously, any communication of new protocols is going to happen with the team. What is that? That's stuff. And ultimately, in all of our companies, we're just looking at it that everybody is new again. And how do we make sure that everyone feels comfortable coming to work, that they feel like they're in a good place, that they feel like they're doing a good job, and all of that very simple stuff. Because remember, the psychology of your team is getting them productive, and that psychology is going to be a part of your job in bringing them back with confidence and with understanding and knowing what the protocols are. Now, if that means retraining in certain aspects, it's going to mean that. And I would suggest that in the vast majority of companies, there will be some retraining, training just on how to execute, training on how to do things. I know in several of our companies, we're going with locked door policies in the beginning of reopening because, we don't want anyone just walking into our building. We're putting doorbells on things and stuff like that. It's just like, oh my goodness, can you imagine having to do this? Yes, this is what we're going to have to do for the next little while, just to instill the confidence in our customers, but also, and most importantly, instill the confidence in our team members. Deals. Here's where reopening gets to be a bit of fun. Okay, what we need to do in the first little while is start to put deals together for all different types of people. So first of all, think of each of your target audiences, be they older people, younger people, male, female, be they different professions, different industries, be they different products category purchases, people that buy a certain service, people that buy other services. Start thinking of deals for all these people. Now, I'm not talking discounts, I'm talking deals, buy two, get the third one free. I'm talking about putting deals together. And if you're looking for that, my book, Instant Advertising, had a whole chapter on putting deals together. Jared, would you mind giving people a link to Instant Advertising if they want to buy that in our store or on Amazon? Thanks. So in looking at that, I want you first of all thinking about what are you going to do to get your top 20% of your customers back? So those A-grade customers. Now, if you've never done the analysis of your customer base, it's time to go and do that analysis of your customer base. Who are the top 20% of your customers that bring you 80% of your business, or who were they prior to this, and how are you going to get them back is the most important. That top 20% of customers need to feel special. They need to have something that brings them back into the marketplace and brings them back real well. Second one I would say is that every company that can and should put some sort of a deal together for first responders, doctors, nurses, paramedics, all the first responders. There should be some sort of an offer for them to bring them in, to allow them a deal, to do something for them, even if it is a buy it for them. So like, buy one for a first responder, donate to a first responder. I see that happening a lot right now where businesses are making a deal where any particular customer can donate a product or a voucher or a gift voucher or something to a first responder. And then you obviously deal with the charities on handling that through. So, have a look at how you can have people dealing with that for you, but also how first responders can get a great deal for doing business in your place of thing. So after you've done the top 20% of customers, then it's about the rest of the customers. What are we going to do to get them coming back in? What offers, what deals are we going to be doing? Now, the biggest part of this The biggest part of this is to be thinking like them, okay? Be thinking of the fact that they're not in this to go out and race and spend money, okay? That's not what people are aiming to do right now. People are a little more conservative with money. They're a little more fearful, a little more worried. What sort of an offer would bring back your existing customers? Now, a percentage of them, and this is one of the great things about social distancing, people are saying, oh, restaurants will never survive on 50% capacity. And I sit and look at them. I say, really, do you ever actually think most restaurants have ever been at 50% of capacity on any day other than Friday and Saturday night? Come on. Now, the other thing about being at 50% of capacity is there's a percentage of your customers who will be ready to do business early and will be willing to leave the house early. And there's a percentage of customers who won't. So don't be too panicked about getting the people that aren't willing to come out of their house right now. Stay virtual, stay viral, stay in that nature of deliveries, home deliveries, all of that stuff. Don't lose the great things that you developed during this time for those who are not willing to come out fast. I know one of our favorite restaurants the other night, my wife and I went and ate there. We sat on the outside patio and did our social distancing and everything, but it felt so good to be back at a restaurant that, we were very happy, and we were over tipping. And I think it was even, I'd read a meme or something that day from someone that if you're a complainer, please don't go out right now. Don't go to a restaurant and complain today if they take a bit longer or they're a bit slower. That, just be willing to be excited about the fact you're doing that. And I think that part of your message and part of your deals for existing customers needs to almost announce the fact that due to social distancing, we may have a slight delay in doing certain things, but we'll be doing the best we possibly can. And I think that anyone who complains today, you can fire them as a customer for the rest of time. The next one is obviously for new customers. What are going to be your deals to get new customers to come try you out? Start thinking of, if I'm a brand new customer. Now, remember this, some of your competitors will not have done as well during this period. So their customers are going to be up for sale. Their customers are going to be ready to move. So give them some sort of an offer to get them to come try you out. Next thing is, I want to see these deals not just once. I want to see you running these deals all month long, even for 90 days if you have to. But be thinking of how you put these deals together for a long period of time. Don't just think of the first week, but as people come out of it and as people get more comfortable coming out of their homes and coming back and trying you, remember, you're going to have people for the next 90 days, maybe 180 days, that are going to be still wanting to stay home and not be ready. So as they are ready to come back for the first time, be ready with an offer for them. Don't just think it's going to take 20 days or 10 days of reopening. No, your reopening can take 90 days. Your reopening could take till the end of the year. We're not certain of the time frame on this. I've said from day one, I thought 90 days in and 90 days out. I know here in Las Vegas, we were less than 90 days before we started coming out of it, and other markets have been the same. Some markets will be longer than that. New York, New Jersey, I'm seeing those markets going to take longer. Australia seems to be moving out of it. New Zealand seems to be slower, but still moving out of it. So each market is going to be different, but remember to keep offers going for as long as people are still wanting to come out of their house for the first time. I think there's going to be a lot of that, and we're going to see a lot more of that over the next 90 to 180 days. Now, everything needs to be announced, not just little things, not just the big things. Everything needs an announcement. We want to make sure that we have a level of desire. I know in our restaurant, we've continuously said, we can't wait to see you back. We haven't stopped our Instagram and Facebook posts. We haven't stopped our newsletters and blogs. We haven't stopped those things just because we're closed. And in all of our other businesses, we've kept marketing and kept going. But as you get towards reopening, as you get towards that, build the excitement. Can't wait to see you face to face. Can't wait for another handshake. All of the can't wait things that you're looking for. And this message needs to be built into a lot of your marketing as we go forward, but everything needs to be an announcement. So no matter what step you are taking, I want to see it announced to your customer base, announced on your social media, announced in your newsletters, in text messages. Every step of it, you need to say, next Friday, this is happening, and re-announce it and do that sort of stuff, because your customers have a relationship with you and they want to be treated that way. They want to feel like that, so they need to know. Remember when you were first opening the business, you announced everything, and do it the same way. Team members need to be announced. Can't wait to have Bob back in your store taking care of you every day. Can't wait to have Mary taking care of your orders. Can't wait to have, you've got to announce every team member, make them feel special, make them feel a part of what's going on, and keep doing this stuff. So it's not just a one-off, it's a sort of thing that you can every day just mention another team member and announce them coming back to work and announce that you're excited by this stuff. And I know that we will probably get some form of social shaming, and I know that that's going to happen, and I'm ready for it. And it's like, yeah, okay, I've been selling and I've been marketing through this whole thing, and if you can't handle that, then too bad for you. I'm quite okay with being in this position of announcing that we're coming back and doing it safely and doing it well. These are some of the things that we've got to make certain that we're doing out there. Every deal is going to be announced. Every date is going to be announced. Whatever it is, your cleaning policies, your structure, your that you put in a screen, announce that you've put in a screen. Don't just put in a screen, take photographs of it and announce it. Everything you do at this point in time needs to build that excitement, to be an announcement, and to do that, and even use the word announcing and take photographs and do that sort of stuff, or do it as a video and get people excited about your reopening. You remember, you've got to hit the ground running, and it's hard to hit the ground running if you haven't started the race before the race begins. So do the warm-up stuff by announcing everything that's possible and getting that. So start to make a list of what it is you want to announce. What's your list of announcements that you want? The celebration of reopening. I want to see ribbon cuttings. I want to see it. Even if the ribbon, like, do the crazy ribbon cutting. If you've got 30 vans in your business, then do a ribbon that wraps around all 30 vans, or put all 30 vans in a parking lot and do a ribbon that's that long and have it cut by 30 different drivers with 30 different sets of scissors. And do you know what I mean? Like, do something that's memorable, do something that people will get excited about, because you've got to be in celebration of survival, celebration of coming back, celebration of life, because people want to feel good right now. People want good stories right now. They're through this, they're coming through it. They want to feel that, yes, there's a story of survival. Yes, there's a story of this business doing well. And especially give your customers something to cheer about. Give them something to be excited about. Give your staff something to cheer about. Make it a celebration. Celebrate each team member. Celebrate each customer. When a customer comes back in for the first time, take a photo if they're willing to do it and post it up there and say, so great to have Mary back doing business with us. She's been such a great customer for 20 years. It's great to see her smiling face again. Really appreciate you doing business with us, Mary, and bringing us through this thing and helping us survive the whole crisis that we've been through. Celebrate your team coming back to work. Take their photo and put it up, and, you know, do it with tape measures around them, or masks, or any PPE equipment that they've got to have. But celebrate all of these things, and it gives you a reason to do it. Your community is another thing to celebrate. Every other business owner that opens up, celebrate it for them, tag them, nominate them. Hey, congrats on Bob opening up, our next door neighbor. We're really pleased to have him back. You know, the good news stuff now has to be a part of it. And by making it newsworthy, the ribbon cutting, invite the news media to it. They're looking for great stories as well. They don't want to be doing just negative stories anymore. They want to see great survival stories and businesses doing well and things opening up again. You know, be a part of that. And if that takes getting a public relations person on board to help you, then do that. But make sure that you are giving people something to celebrate. So lots of announcements as we lead up to it, and lots of celebrations as we start opening. Now I have to get to the boring part. I want to see your numbers. You know, I want you to do your numbers, and we've taken to weekly numbers in all companies. We've just gone down to weekly numbers in all companies, because whether you are at close down or survival mode, doing a pivot that keeps you in virtual nature, or whether you're in boom mode right now, doing your numbers on a weekly basis, and in some cases even a daily basis, is very important. Knowing your numbers. Sit with your action coach, get your numbers, and know very clearly what it is that you're trying to achieve with that stuff. As I just said, more often, break even numbers, they're going to be different as you go forward. They're going to be, you know, so you've got to know what it is. Profit break even. How much do you have to make a bank every day before you're hitting your profit goals? Knowing these numbers. Now, I want to touch on this. I know this isn't for every single market in the world, but if you have been given a loan by your government, if you've been given that money, use it wisely, especially if you didn't need all of it to survive. Look at where you're going to invest. Look at how you're going to turn that money into future money. Look at all of these things. But running your numbers right now is probably one of the most important things. This opening up without your numbers will crush some businesses. I'm still suggesting in all of my companies to keep extra cash on hand. I'm still making certain that we do that, because I think that extra cash on hand right now is not a bad thing. You know, we're still uncertain as to exactly how fast are the opening up and exactly how fast our customers are going to be coming back. So we need to make certain that we do have that extra cash if we can. That being said, Where are we investing the money? We're definitely investing the money in marketing. We're definitely investing the money in getting our customers back. We're definitely investing the money in safety and cleanliness and delivering the product or service in a way that means that everyone, I saw it, the numbers for Amazon, and Amazon made an extra 10 billion in revenue through this thing as the estimated number. And you look at it, and they had to spend a vast majority of that on upgrading all of their sites so that their people were 6 feet apart, and so on and so on and so on. Unlike a lot of the meat distribution centers where they didn't do that, and of course had outbreaks and stuff. Number 7, and again, if you've got questions, please type them in. I want to make sure. Now, marketing and sales is where we want to spend a fair bit of time, because this is where I think the make or break of reopening is going to happen for a lot of people. If we sit down and start thinking about the way we market today, the marketing message, the marketing mediums have shifted. Simple things where, the number of people that used to get their newspaper at hotels that are no longer at hotels, and therefore the number of newspaper distribution is down by ridiculous numbers. So we've got to be sitting there thinking about what are we going to be doing marketing going forward. I would highly suggest that a full new marketing plan is necessary. I would highly suggest that a full redo of your marketing plan is needed right now. Full SWOT analysis again. Why? Your competitors are different today than they were 90 days ago. They just are. Your competitors are different. They're doing business differently. And you've got to research, what are my competitors doing right now? What are they offering? What are they not offering? How have they changed their website? How have they changed their marketing strategies? What pricing are they doing differently? We've got to sit down and do that whole, what are your weaknesses right now? They're different to 90 days ago. What opportunities are there? They're different to 90 days ago. And this, my friends, is a big part. It's a big ask, but there's a lot of thinking that has to go into how has the landscape shifted? How has it changed? How are the buying habits going to be different? How are the purchasing strategies going to be different? How are people going to be doing this? And so it really does mean right now in all companies to be sitting and redoing a marketing plan. So the message, I believe, has to shift to more education and help-based than benefits-oriented to the product or service. We most definitely can't be doing advertising right now on price orientation. I don't think price orientation is going to be a marketing strategy for at least 3 to 6 months. Not that I would have ever recommended that prior to this anyway, but you're not going to see supermarkets running specials on products. You're not going to see them advertising, get this for $2.87. You're going to see them doing it more on community, more on help, more on educate, more on thankfulness, more on gratitude. These are some of the things that we're going to be seeing as our marketing messages going forward. As for mediums, Jared, would you mind putting in the chat window for everyone my marketing? I did the marketing, that webinar was a few weeks back actually, Jared. Could you put a link in there so that if anyone did not see the marketing webinar, you can go back and watch that. But understanding the nature of the market right now is what a great marketer will be doing. Their messages will be different. And I know for us, the number of Google ads and Facebook ads and Instagram ads that have had to change messaging, and I'm talking changing weekly in some cases, daily even in some cases, where the messaging has to be shifted because the community feel is different. You watch and you see some political statements that just shift the community's feel in a day. We see some of these videos get released, and whether they're conspiracy theories or not, I don't care to argue, but they shift the focus of the community and they change the way the community is feeling, and therefore advertising and marketing, what you put up yesterday might today get you beat up out there in the marketplace. So be very cautious about changing your message. Fear and worry are still a big part of the market. So your marketing has to be around things. There's got to be cleanliness. There's got to be safety. These things are part of the marketing messages of today. And so I sit with a lot of people and I sit down and I say, well, okay, imagine that you had to capture the essence of the psyche or the mindset of the marketplace today. what would be the top 10 things that you think people are looking for, both positive and negative? 5 positive, 5 negative. What are the things that people are worried about in your industry specifically, or your profession? And what are the things that people are fearful of? Then on the flip side, what is it that people are excited about in your marketplace? What is it that people are looking forward to in your marketplace? These are some of the marketing messages. So if you look at those two messages and say, okay, the fear and worry on one side and the excitement and looking forward to on the other side, these are going to be a part of your marketing message. Now, how are you going to test your marketing message today? A lot of it you can test just by putting up as social media posts. You know, if you're posting on Twitter, you can tweet out a whole bunch of different messages and see which one actually gets retweeted versus the others. You can do it on Instagram or Facebook and see where am I getting the most traction in these messages, and wherever that traction is where your marketing message needs to be. So look for traction in your social media. Now, if you really want to, you can go to doing it as very cheaply paid ads on Google or on Facebook or Insta or LinkedIn or any of these methodologies. Spend a very small amount of your budget testing it to see if the message is getting a like and share rate that's higher than normal. And then you can turn that into your marketing. But you've got to be trying to be on the markets, the look, feel of the market at the point in time. And this, normally you could do a marketing message that would last months, weeks at the very least, maybe even years, some marketing messages. But right now, no. Right now, no, you can't. Your marketing messages are shifting faster and faster, and there's no two ways about that. So be very careful about that. Next thing within marketing and sales, each step is going to either take a little bit longer, or you're going to need to add more steps into the sales process. If you think of before, someone had no fear, no worry, the business was going well for them, life was good, they were making a lot of money, they didn't have any panic or any fear in their mindset, and they were spending, and it took, say, 5 steps or 3 steps for them to make a purchase. And now we have all of this other mindset that is sitting in the background, and we say, well, okay, if that's the case, what are we going to do? How are we going to actually get this education and get these people to understand that? And that's where it's going to take a lot more work, especially in a virtual world, to convince people to buy. Hence the use of video. I believe that every business in the world right now better get very good at video and better have a decent iPhone or decent camera phone of some sort, and a decent microphone of some sort, and be looking at it. And remember this with videos, the more they are real, the better they are. People sitting at a desk just get skipped over today. Most videos that get the biggest thing are things that are done, you know, sitting out by your pool or sitting on top of the roof or sitting somewhere different. Do it different. Don't be all the same. Always mix it up, mix up your messages, mix up the thing that you're doing. I know for me, I used to always do it driving in my car, and it depended on what car I was in for the day and different people. You know, I remember every time I take out the old 64 Lincoln Continental convertible, it's amazing the number of people that watch just because I'm in a Lincoln Continental convertible type thing. And then other times when I do it, sitting at the bar at my house, and, you know, people look. So the video has got to be there. Now, testimonials, I will say, will be the #1 video of the day that I would want to see. So by the end of next week, I want to see you having at least 10 videos from customers telling the world how great you are. And they don't need to be perfectly produced right now. They don't need to be amazing production. Literally, you can make it on your phone and edit it in iMovie, and hey, presto, off you go. It doesn't need to be an amazing thing in this day and age, but we need it. Now, education videos are also important. You know, if you haven't seen it, Jared, could you put a link up to the Doodly video we put out the other day, the 6 steps Doodly video? I'm just going to show you this because we're trying all new ways of educating people and getting new technology and new methodologies and just simple things that we can do to help educate people as to how to buy what they're buying. And it's going to take longer, and it's going to need more education for people just to get through that fear and get through that worry. Your sales process, if you are not a great question-based sales process person, if you don't have questionnaires to ask the customer about themselves, if you've got to have this stuff involved so that you can actually become very much more customer centric in your sales. There is, you know, if I have to be blunt about this, if the pushy salesperson wasn't dead prior to this, if the pushy salesperson wasn't there, wasn't gone, then they need to be now. You know, you need to be more convincing, but to be that in this day and age, you need to have that empathy and that sympathy and that compassion for the marketplace. And that, my friends, is something that is going to take training and energy to train your salespeople to get them more in that mode. So your marketers are going to have to learn new methodologies. Your salespeople are going to have to learn new methodologies. Your customer service people have to learn new methodologies. And that's where there's so much training to be done in the next little while to get people, just to remind ourselves, this is not an economic crisis, it's an economic transformation. The way we are doing business is transformed dramatically. We have leapfrogged somewhere between 5 and 10 years ahead in time frame to move ourselves that far. So I think we've virtualized the world at such a rapid rate that we need to be training our people to move that fast and move that far forward. The next thing I'll say about marketing and sales is that a lot of what I've been doing in our companies during this time is building database and building relationships. See, I'm not sure if you're brand new to me here today. If you are brand new, fantastic. Welcome to the team. But others of you have been around a little while, and what we're doing is building relationship with you and opening that door. Now, we know not everyone's going to want to do business with us today, but during this time frame, we've used it to say, how do we build more relationships with more people? How do we open more doors and get more people to be in touch with us? How do we make certain that we have more and more and more people on our database that at some point when this market does change back and they get out of the fear and worry, they will come to us. You know, they will buy from us. So making certain all of these aspects of our sales and marketing has been of vital importance to us. Okay, on to number 8, thanking people. During this time frame, there's a lot of people you need to thank. There's a lot of customers, there's a lot of business partners, bankers, and so on. So you need to think about how you do that. For me personally, handwritten notes. I know in one of our company where we have approximately 1,000 customers around the world, we literally gave every team member, I believe it was 50 postcards to every team member, and had them handwrite a note and send it to our business customers and say, thank you for staying with us. We really appreciate you during this time. And, you know, we're really thinking about you and all that sort of stuff. I mean, it's just important to let people know how you feel about them. Let people know what it is that's important, and that can be everyone that's done business with you and helped you get through this. You know, I know our accountants have been a godsend through this stuff of helping us get the government loans and the government assistance programs done around the world and in each country we're in. So I think it's just important to do some of those things that you know, we make certain that we know of what's going on and make certain that those people feel that way. Now, I would go one step further and say, what about the people that are getting no thanks out there in the marketplace right now? What about the politicians? Just sending them a note and sending them a handwritten note, or send them a small gift from your business and let them know who you are. Let the media know, hey, thanks for staying and keeping us updated during this thing. It's amazing how far a little thank you note will go with people. And I, for one, think that when I get those, it's massive, you know? Yeah, it's massive. So let's stay on top of that, and let's keep thanking as many people. And on that note, I want to thank all of you for keeping your business running during this, keeping your staff on board, and, you know, just doing what it took to be a business owner and be a business leader during this. And I know from my own personal experience that it's not easy. I know some days, there are a couple of weeks there, we're chatting with my coach around my mental strength. I was definitely not in mental strength mode a couple of weeks during the middle of this thing. And I know I got into frustration, and I even got to anger at some points around some of these things that were happening. And it was like, hang on, I got to get myself out of that and get myself back to gratitude, back to thankfulness, back to problem solving, back to the things that, will solve this, not the things that will create more of it. I see we've got a few questions trickling in, but please start writing in those questions, and I'll get to as many of them as I can once I finish this. Ultimately, the challenge for all of us as business people is staying strong during this, and the more you send gratitude to others, the better you feel about you, and the better you'll feel in your own way about how you do that. So where are we at? Well, where many of us are at is at the end of the survive period, okay? Getting into this drive and getting into this opening up thing. Eased restrictions, they're announcing dates, they're announcing that they're going to be announcing dates, they've already given us dates, some markets have already partially opened, half opened, whatever it is. But right now is that time for us to be driving this car as fast and as hard as we can. We've got to make sure that we get into the final quarter of this year. So, I've said it pretty clearly. First quarter was, we were doing okay, and then it started to go. And second quarter was not going to be a good quarter for most businesses out there. Some businesses, second quarter was their biggest quarter of their entire life, but most of us, it was not going to be that case. But now as we get into drive, we really want to start pushing that stuff forward. So your plan, I very clearly said it all along, let's go 90 days in and 90 days out. Okay, so if you do not have that 90-day out plan written yet, please get with your coach and make sure that you get that. Understanding that the simplest of mistakes right now can put you back a mile. The simplest of mistakes could put you way, way, way back on this thing. So we want to think everything through. I want you to think through the possible negatives as well as the positives. Don't just go with the positives. Be really clear around what are the negatives in this thing and how can we actually get through this. And if this happens, what's next? If this happens, what's next? If that happens, what's next? There's so many things. I know in our companies, we're sitting there writing a policy. What do we do if we find someone that actually had this? And what do we do when one person? How do we keep people in small teams so we're not interacting with every single person, interacting with every person? Because if every person interacts with every person and one person gets a disease or gets a sickness, even if we don't know it's COVID, even if we just know that they are sick, we have to quarantine every single person. So how do we divide the company up into time zones, into groups of 8 or whatever the number might be, so that we're not putting everyone at risk? And that's why I say think of the negatives as well as the positives in this, because there is a lot of possible negatives and a lot of downsides that can happen. Keep that in mind. And finally, I would always say get help. Make sure you do chat with a coach. Now, if I get into some detail here about how your coach can help you with the planning and where you can sit down and do that sort of stuff, most businesses around the world are either in phase 3 or 4 of this up here, either in warm up or in sprint. Some are still back in phase 2. I know our restaurant is still back in phase 2. We don't see our opening for at least another month. And so, we're stuck. We really can't do anything other than train our people and keep them on that and try and keep building some form of marketing plan to keep our customers at least drip fed on what's going on. Most of my companies are in warm-up phase. They're in the starting to think about reopening, going back to the office or going back to the stores or back to the things. And very simply put, we're going through all of the planning right now. We really are. We're getting prepared, and we're also getting our people, saying to them, listen, take a few personal days right now, because once we get going, it's going to be massive, and we're going to be working 24/7 basically. So take a few days off if you need to. Now, as some of our businesses have started to open and started to reopen, we're seeing that sprint happen, and we're trying to. The very simple basics of it is we're trying to stay ahead. We're trying to keep ahead of the customers. We're trying to keep ahead of the orders. We're trying to just do what we can. We've employed more people. We've done the things that we need to do to stay ahead. And we think we're going to keep that moving. But, again, we've got to be flexible. Things that we thought when we walked through, and when I say did a walkthrough, we walked through as if we were the customer and did that walkthrough and thought, how will the customer walk through our business? What will they do? Well, everything that we thought about how they'll walk through, within 2 days, we're totally wrong. Nope, they don't want to do that. Here's what they actually want to do. They want to do A, B, and C. So we had to change everything, remove all of those stickers on the floor, change them, put them somewhere else. And just so many little things like that, where the flexibility of the team and the flexibility of the management team has been phenomenal to be able to serve the customer in a way they feel most comfortable being served, but also in a way our staff feel comfortable in doing that. So as we get through all of this and we do get to the sprint and we race for as long as it takes, it might take 3 months of sprint, it might take 6 months of sprint, but whatever that is, you got to do it. And you got to keep your staff in that. So finally, we get to the normalcy of business, or the new normal, I guess is the simplest way to put it. And that's where we really need to look at how we do that stuff. So to finish up, I want to do 2 things. Number one, if you have not spoken with a coach, get back with the coach that invited you on here. If you were not invited on by a coach, you're invited on by our normal marketing. Jared, would you mind giving people a copy of the link for people to get a free session with a coach, please? Oh, and you've just made a note there that all links will go in the follow-up email. That's great. Thank you for doing that, Jared. Can you also then, Jared, if you're going to do links in the follow-up email, give people a link to my free 10-day training, and also the 30X training, which normally, gang, 30X was $999. Now, because of this thing, I'd say we've got about another 2 weeks. We'll do it for $99. So, Jared, could you send them the link for the $99 30X as well? It's 30 minutes a day for 30 days with me. It's a $1,000 program, or $999, that we're doing for just 99 bucks right now. So if you want that, please do it. So best thing you can do right now is, what are the top 5 things you need to do to get out of today? What are the top 5 things you want to do today so that you can move from this and get going with what you need to do? And okay, so now time for questions. And your coach will follow up with you if you've had a coach. Oh, we got a bunch of questions that have come in. Let me try and get to them as fast as I can. Let me bring the camera back on. And yes, some of you said, thank you, Jared, for putting stuff up. Yes, thanks, Jared, for putting stuff up. Restaurants were jammed in your market this weekend, particularly if they had outdoor seating options. They were all hitting social distancing, safe measures from the state. That's great to see, Russ. Send them notes and tell them how you're grateful that they're doing well. Make sure you introduce yourself to them, everybody. Less customers at the same time, increased cleaning procedures and working hour flexibility have a big impact on costs. Yes, it will, Jimmy. You've got to do your numbers right now, and you've got to be looking at it. Can business increase their prices in this time? 100% yes. 100% yes, you can increase prices during this time. Would I be doing it? No. No, I wouldn't be doing it at this time, because I want my past customers to be coming back and I want to be winning new business. I would work out a methodology to eat that cost just for the next little while. And it might be 30 days, Jimmy, it might be 60, it might be 90, but I'm going to eat that cost just for a little while. Because, Jimmy, think of it this way. When you first opened your business, you knew you weren't going to make a fortune in the first 90 days. You knew that it was going to take a little bit to get yourself to break even and then back to making profits. We've almost got to see it that way right now. It's got to sort of be in that methodology of doing it. Philip, how much is an action coach? An action coach is free, basically. We have a guarantee that we make you more than you invest with us. But Philip, programs start at $100 a month and go up to tens of thousands a month. Depends on the size of your business and what level of coaching you need. Our group programs, though, start at $100 a month in our book club and our profit club. Our group programs in the middle, $500 to $1,000 a month. One-to-one coaching is usually in the vicinity of $2,000 to $3,000 a month, depending on the size of the business and what level of coaching you're going to need. So have a chat with your coach, though. They'll have a program that suits every level of business. So that's an important one. Brad, we have a real estate business in South Africa. How do you market yourself at the moment, and what would you be doing to value add? Barry, I would be using a ton of video right now in real estate. I would be making commentary. I'd be helping people keep up with what's happening in the real estate market. What's best to do to sell a house in this market? I would be using a lot of education. If you go back to what I said in the marketing segment there about, if you can become an expert, if you can become the educator of your industry, then your marketing does itself, because you're an educator. Like for instance, me being on this webinar here today, this is technically marketing for ActionCOACH, but it's basically education. I'm building database, I'm building relationships with people, and I'm being perceived as the expert. So Barry, when someone does want to hire a real estate person, they're going to want to hire someone who's very good at selling in this time, very good at finding them a place in this time. So the more you can educate the market as to how good you are and how much you know about what's happening, the better off you're going to be within that. How do you think business owners should accommodate those members of the team who did not perform during the lockdown? Same way you would at any other time. Have a meeting with them and tell them that they didn't perform. You know, you've got to sit down with people. If people didn't perform during this, you've got to sit down and have those conversations with them. I can't see any other way of doing it. You know, I know in some companies we've got jobs that just disappeared because of this stuff. It's just gone. You know, sorry, your job is gone. There is, you know, you're an events business and we don't have any events running right now. So, you know, I'm sorry, but we can't do that anymore. Specific recommendations for businesses which have operated continuously throughout the pandemic to get a boost from reopening. Phil, we're going to be doing the same things that I mentioned here. Like ActionCOACH ran throughout this whole thing, but we're still going to be announcing the new things. We're going to be announcing openings. We're going to be announcing those. We're still going to be doing the same things that we're doing, announcing our staff coming back to the office, announcing our customers coming back to events when we're having real live events. Because, you know, many markets right now, we can go to socially distant live events. We can run them in boardrooms and restaurants and stuff where we can go back in and start running those. So we will be doing the same sort of things as what I'm saying a business that was shut down should be doing as well. Renee, let me read this one. Any recommendations on how to get some influx of cash in our empty properties? Oh, so you're in the real estate business and no one's interested in yeah, due to travel bans and that sort of thing. Look, I feel for you as well, because we shifted all of our short-term accommodations into long-term accommodations a couple of years back because I just didn't want to have to deal with these whole things. So luckily enough, we've used them as long-term accommodations. But here's the thing. A percentage of the market is going to be ready to travel the moment lockdowns ends. There's a percentage of the market who are not fearful, not scared. It might be 10, it might be 20, it might be 30% of the market. And each of you has at least one or two of those friends. You watch them on Facebook every day, making their as soon as this ends, I'm getting on the plane, you know, okay. So I would be marketing to that group. I'd be looking at that group and saying, okay, what are the similarities in that group? How do I market to that group that is ready to travel the moment it starts? Any particular suggestion in the reopening of a jewelry store? Absolutely. Do the full-on show. Do the full-on thing. Bring in some new stuff. Do something. Get your top 20% of your customers in first. You know, have one-on-one openings. You know, do the simple openings for them. Do it as you know, one person at a time reopening. The special appointment only. We're going appointment only for the first 2 weeks. You know, blah blah. All that sort of stuff. There's definitely going to be that. We keep reading that there may be a second wave. If that happens, do we prepare for that too now? Look, I'm not an expert on the disease. I can't do anything other than watch. I'm watching Germany very closely. I'm watching here in the United States, Atlanta and Florida very closely. Texas, I'm watching pretty close. So I'm seeing that, and I'm seeing that, you know, the thoughts of a second wave. And oh, look, I don't even want to contemplate that at this stage, because I don't, gut feel, and this is just my gut feel, I'm not an expert on that stuff at all. My gut feel is I don't see the second wave happening. I'm watching, same as you, I guess. I see the same news you do about finding prescriptions, the vaccinations and stuff. And dang, I'm probably more hopeful than most, but I'm hoping that's not the case, that I have to deal with that. You're welcome those sending thank you notes. If you're a supplier to jewelry shops, I would go direct. I'd start selling direct. I really would. I think that the whole direct model of business is going to become a part of the future. So look at that, see where it's going. And you know, I think that's an important thing. Is direct mail a good idea now? Yes, any form of direct marketing is a good idea right now. Making sure that you are in front of people. You know, that's really the key to what we're doing right now. Making sure you are in front of people, in front of as many potential customers as you can. Listen, gang, I know I'm close to the end of time. I just have 3 other things I want to say to you. Number one, this is a time when businesses will win business. This is a time where you will win business. And the number of companies that are slow out of the gates are the ones that are going to give up customers. Okay, so be ready for getting out of those gates fast. If you haven't had a chance, Jared, could you also put up a link to my pivot webinar? The previous one I did like a few weeks back, that would be great. And look, just remember, getting out of the gates fast is a priority, but doing it in such a planned methodology that you don't 2 steps, 1 step forward, 2 steps back type things. Plan it so it's not 2 forward, 1 forward, 2 back. I think that it's very important. The second last thing I want to say to you is this, is that if you are feeling like you are going to give up or there's any challenge, reach out to your action coach now. Reach out to me, jump on the free thing, but reach out to someone. What we do every day is we get networks of you business owners and we put you together every day and have conversations. You can come every day, you can come a few times a week or once a week, whatever it is. But that feeling of not being alone is really important for business owners right now. I think it's really important for you to be a part of a network of business owners that are in the same situation as you are, and going through this. And finally, again, I just want to reiterate, thanks for doing what you're doing right now. Thanks for being a business owner. Thanks for keeping that, because the risk we all take when we open our own business is not a small one. The risk we take when we open our own business is huge. And for you to still be there in a strong way that you're doing it, I give you kudos and congratulations. A big double thumbs up from me, because, hey, I know how hard it is to get through these sorts of things. And yeah, this is one of those times when being a business owner can be a thankless task, but if you do it right, your customers are going to thank you, your staff are going to thank you, people are going to be, and I'm going to thank you for just staying in the fight and doing what we need to do to get through this thing. So listen, take care, be well, stay safe, and let's open up in a bigger way. Let's plan to have a better business coming out of this than we had coming into it. Let's make sure that we know that that's possible. This is an economic transformation of mammoth scale. And those of us who do a good job out of it and come out of this with a much better business than we had going into it. Take care, gang. Bye for now. Thank you.